So I have a bit of a testimony, and I hope this helps those of you who have come to me and asked me questions about, does God heal? Does God still heal today? And the answer is a blatant yes. And the reason why is because God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He never changes. His word never changes. And God healed back then. So that means he does heal today. Now, not everyone gets healed. And we can pray and weep and be on our faces for someone's healing, and they may not get healed. And a lot of people don't understand that. So I'm going to share this testimony with you. So my dad passed away November 4th of 2020. And he had a health condition that, I don't know, he had for like 18 years. And he didn't take care of it. Had he taken care of it, he would be here today. But he had something happen to him that could have easily been corrected with surgery, and he would have been healthy and whole. Honestly, I'll just tell you the truth. He had a hernia, and he had a double hernia, actually. And he never had it taken care of. And so eventually the hole where the hernia was got bigger and bigger. And over time, a lot of his organs just kind of shifted and started going through this big area, this big hole in his lower abdomen. And so it made him over time just really be unhealthy on the inside. He would have internal bleeding. He had things going on, and he just never had it taken care of. And one day he finally decided to have it taken care of, and the surgeon was like, it's too late. You waited too long. If I do surgery on you now, you will die on the table. So my father had to kind of suck that up and deal with not so good quality of life, because it was painful. It was limiting his walking and all other kinds of things. So he dealt with that for many, many years. So 2 years after he looked into surgery, maybe not even quite 2 years, it started to make him sick, and he started to become weak, and we could see him changing. And eventually one morning at 3:30 a.m., my father had a heart attack. Now, I will say, he was still alive when I got to the hospital, and he was just sedated. He could hear everything we were saying. He just couldn't respond. And I got to talk to him. A few other of his family members got to talk to him, and I held his hand the whole time. And I was there when he took his last breath. Myself, my mother, and my brother were in the room when he took his last breath. And be honest with you, my father loved Jesus so much. He would talk about Jesus and cry with you, just talking about him. And I was a little jealous when he left here, because I'm like, now you're there and I'm here. And if I know my dad, he's up there saying, Michelle, you have got to see this place. Because we would have the longest talks about the Lord, my father and I, and we would just talk ourselves into a frenzy of tears. But anyways, here's my point. I prayed for years for God to heal him, and he just never got healed. At least I didn't think he did. But let me just explain. So 2 weeks after my father passed away, my mother had a dream. God gave my mother this dream. She was in this huge ballroom, and on the other, it was filled with people, and on the other side was a staircase. And she saw my dad coming up the staircase. And she said his hair, he was very, very young, maybe like 30. His hair was slicked back the way he used to wear it long ago when they first met. And she said he came up the stairs and he just glowed with health. And he had this huge smile on his face, and there were no words. He didn't talk to her. He just came across the room to her and hugged her with the longest hug she ever had. And she said it felt so real. And she said, and then I woke up, and what I remember the most was the health that he had. And he just had this glow of health and vitality about him. And when she told me that part of her dream, I just cried, because I knew God answered my prayers. God did heal my father. It just wasn't on this side. It was on the other side, the better side. So if you have a loved one that you've been praying for, maybe they had a disease for a long time or whatever it may be, and it just didn't happen, and then they passed away, try and remember that God doesn't always heal on this side. If it's one thing I know, God knows His ways are higher than ours, and He knows best, because I can tell you one thing about my dad. If my dad was alive right now, I honestly don't think mentally he could take the heartache that we see in the world. The things going on with the children, the evil around the world. My father was very spiritual and political and patriotic and all of those things. And I just know him, it would have broke him. And I think God takes us right at the right time. I also believe in my heart that God takes us when we are the closest to Him.